All right, welcome to episode 51 of the At Bad podcast presented by War Media, where we give you our thoughts on the latest Chicago baseball news, as well as take a trip around the league. I am Saul Rodriguez, along with my co-host, Miles Porter. Miles, how we doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. Had a fun time in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing. Saw the Braves game, and that was so fun. What a team! What a stadium! Oh my gosh! And missed last weekend's baseball games for us, but we played well. My boy Pedro hit another grand slam. He's just
Damn.
out of this world right now. He's hitting I think close to 600.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's it's just it's fun. The boys are hot, so I'm excited to be back with them this coming weekend. And yeah, man, feeling good, feeling good. Work is keeping me busy as well, so I'm just taking care of business.
Hell yeah. No, yeah, we'll get into our trips. You went to Atlanta. I was in Detroit, as you could tell. I'm rocking my Detroit Tigers Riley Green
Let's go.
bucket hat. Needed it. So got that, and yeah, it was a cool trip. But I was gonna ask you about the Jaguars. What's the record right now?
The record, dude. I know that we have a winning record, and I can't exactly seem to
Mm-hmm.
remember it off the
Hey,
No, but we're
tunnel
playing
vision,
really well,
baby.
man. We're playing really well. We
Yeah.
got a lot of new faces this year, and we're just coming together as a ball club, man. The pitching is
Mm.
great. Offensively, we're I don't have a word for it. It's incredible, man. It's cool seeing this team come together. This is my fourth year on this ball club, so it's been cool to see the development, and I've seen a lot of the ups and downs of this team. And so um, I wonder. I always try to think of what major league team can I kind of compare us to, and I may have to go with the Orioles. That's what I feel like.
Okay, okay.
We're a very young team that has had our struggles, and
Hmm.
now things are starting to click as guys like me are older, and there's younger guys below us, and we're kind of showing them the way. And we're just a very young, talented team. So I'm gonna go with like the Orioles, the team that this team reminds me of.
And who would you be? Are you a Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, Santander? Like, who would you call yourself from that lineup? You know, as a veteran, you know what I mean, on that team. So who would you say compare
Ooh,
yourself?
probably Santander. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know because that's a good one. I'm not sure. I think it's like a kind of Cedric Mullins experience with
yeah,
Santander kind of playing style for the most part. But
yeah. Because Santander's got pop, bro. I know. You.
yeah,
I know you like to shop at the Gap. So you know what I'm saying. So
yeah,
you know.
exactly. It's cool, man. It's really cool. So you know, we're getting better every day. So I'm excited
Oh
to get
yeah,
back with them too. And so yeah, look
good to
forward to it.
see. Good to hear, man. Of course, like always, the Miles corner is always hot. You know what I'm saying? Where the Milwaukee Jaguar is always coming out, so we always
Yes,
gotta
sir.
get that update, bro. But hey, let's
Heck,
get into it. I know you said you talked about you went to Atlanta, so
yes,
hey, Truist Park, it's for real for me. That's like probably top five ballparks I want to go see, just because I don't know, just like I hear the ballpark village is cool. I hear just the
yeah,
stadium like is just so nice, and I mean, kind of seeing like for me seeing Target Field earlier this month, that was
yeah.
crazy because it was a new ballpark. I never been to like a new ballpark like that, so it was cool to see. But what's your like your impressions of Truist Park there?
Dude, it's shout out to my amazing girlfriend though, who also provided the tickets. She's the best. No, it's really cool, bro. It's definitely outside. The energy is just incredible. They got the bands
Mm-hmm.
playing, they got the music going, they got all the restaurants and bars leading up to the gate through the outfield. It's amazing. The energy there is just like it reminds me a lot of the 2016 Cubs, where it's just the energy is always so high. It is just
Mm-hmm.
incredible. And they shut the lights off, and then they do the Braves chop, and it's just after every strikeout, there's fireworks. So it's just, dude. The performance, the production team that they have there is really good. And as I'm going to more ballparks in my life, you can really see the difference in how some teams do it better than others. And
Mm-hmm.
when I went to the Marlins game last year, you could tell that they still have a lot of work to do when it comes to their production aspect. And so it's awesome, man. It really is. It was amazing.
Yeah, and you went to one game or you went to two games? How many games you go to?
I went to one
Went to
game,
one. Okay.
and I saw Kimbrel get his 400th save of his career
Hey, that's sick. That's
against
awesome.
against his old team, against the team
Yeah,
where
yeah,
Sean.
right.
So cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. That's pretty awesome, man. I definitely it's one of the parks I want to go to, like I said. So definitely cool to see you got there and you got to see some history. So that's pretty dope.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and on my end, I went to Detroit, went to go see the White Sox. So one of my friends who's a diehard White Sox fan. And it was honestly way the experience was way nicer than I thought it would be. Like Comerica is not, to be honest, it's not been a ballpark where I'm like, man, I gotta go. But it's in the Midwest. I wanted to, got to see all the Midwest stadiums, and I was pleasantly surprised, man. And like the view is great of downtown Detroit. The jumbotron. They got like, man, if you had to count up how many tiger statues or tiger pictures they have in there, like it's insane how many, and all the statues with baseballs in their mouths and all that's crazy. But yeah, they even have like a Ferris or a merry-go-round in there. They got like this little part where they have like the little restaurants and like
Yeah.
it's crazy. But yeah, and the food was good too as well. From there, definitely, I always measure it back up to guaranteed rate fuel because despite the White Sox, I'm not gonna sit here and say they got top 10, even top 20 ballpark, but they have great food, and that's what makes them a great ballpark too. Is just how good the food is
Yeah.
there, and I always measure it back up to that because even I'll admit Wrigley food is not great, and like so that just makes it is a big part of it, and
Yeah.
yeah, so Comerica was a pleasant surprise, bro. They have a Little Caesars in there. They have a whole Little Caesars in there, like
Oh, that's
they.
they won. They won.
So that just says it all right there for me.
Yeah.
You could get like your own little Detroit style little pizza box. I was like a little kid in the candy store with
Detroit
some
style
pizza
pizza.
and
Oh my
yeah, bro, it's
gosh.
crazy. And actually, so I had the Little Caesar style Detroit style pizza, which I've had before, obviously here. But then I had the actual Detroit style pizza, and that was amazing. It was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
good,
Mm-hmm.
so good, bro. Like I never had authentic, and I've been there plenty of times. I had family over there. It was the first time I gone to experience a sporting event there, and it was sick. Also, bro, isn't I feel like we're like the only city in the Midwest. Maybe we honestly might be the only city in the Midwest that has all our ballparks spread out, and like every other city has them like right next to each other. All the stadiums,
Oh yeah.
right? Like when I went to Minnesota, they have they have Target Field, Target Center, they have
Uh-huh.
they have the Minnesota Viking Stadium. Then they have in Detroit, they have Little Caesars Arena, where the Red Wings and Pistons play.
Oh yeah, right
Then
next to the Tigers.
yeah,
Yeah.
right next to Comerica. And then they have Ford Field right next to Comerica as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you literally see Ford Field from like from the upper deck
Yeah, yeah.
in Comerica, so that's pretty badass.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
Guardians and the Cavs as well. I keep
yeah,
forgetting.
right. Yeah. So it's like we're the only ones, bro. Like it's
Of
funny,
course.
but it is what it is. I guess it makes one other thing. I guess if you want to put it in a positive, what makes the city unique, I guess it's an adventure because the city's so big. I guess right. So
Every team
we'll
has
take
has their own area.
exactly, and we'll get to the games for the games I went to. White Sox,
Yeah.
they won one. They blew out the
Yeah.
Tigers on Friday. Then they lost
Yeah.
on Saturday. So it was 1-1. I wish it was like that when I went to Minnesota. I told my buddy, I'm like, man, I would have killed for the Cubs to go at least 1-1. That would have been nice, but that didn't work out for me. But yeah, we'll break down those games a little more when we talk about the White Sox. But kind
Okay.
of transitioning to the north side of Chicago, where the Cubs are 24-31. They just finished the homestand where they went 4-5. They won two of the three home series, so it was a success after a terrible a road trip once again. But man, I mean, look, the Mets are a mess. We saw that firsthand, beating them
Yeah.
2 out of 3. The Reds are a problem because they just always are, whether they are good or bad. In this case, they're playing really good baseball right now, so that's just they're
Yeah.
a problem for everybody. I know I was watching the Red Sox Reds game right now, and they're giving Chris Sale all kinds of problems. So at
Yeah.
Fenway. So yeah, they're just insane, and they Cubs have dropped 4 out of the first 5 against Cincinnati this year. Matt McLean, who just recently came back up. He's got 9 hit. He had 9 hits in the series, and that dude can fly. And then, dude, surprisingly enough, I went into the series. I'm like, man, if we could scratch like after that Red series, I'm like, if we could scratch one win against the Rays, that might be a win. And we
Yeah.
went out there and won 2 out of 3. So that
Big.
was that
Big.
was bad. Yeah, that was huge. Cubs pitching was awesome. And then just in general, guys were stepping up. I mean, Stroman had another great showing. He had a complete game. Hendricks outdueled
Yeah.
McClanahan. bro. Yeah. So and just all in all, a great homestand. But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts overall on the homestand the Cubs had, where they beat 2 out of 3 of Mets, they got swept by the Reds, and then beat the Rays 2 out of 3.
Yeah, this is a team that is definitely still figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
They have turned into the team that a lot of people thought that they would be.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Um, you know, it's kind of up and down with the Cubs right now. The offense is good on some days, on a lot of days it's not. Um, it's for right now. The Cubs have to just continue to compete the way that they've been competing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very promising seeing them take series from teams like the Rays, the best team in baseball. And you have energy from guys like Marcus Stroman, who is just and I don't know what kind of team this would be without his energy specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So I just this is a team that is it's very there's still some soul searching at the moment. They got off to that very hot start in April, and things were very fun and lighthearted and everything. And reality sets in a little bit, kind of showing you, hey, we still have a lot of work to do here. Um, I think the pitching in that Rays series specifically was incredible. Really, really limited that offense that has been very potent this entire year.
Mm-hmm.
1-0, 2-1, and 3-4. It's a great job by the staff. It really is. Pitching, literally keeping that team in every single ball game. So lots of positives to take away from. You definitely want to see Dansby continue to heat up a little bit more. Um, I think Ian Happ has had a lot of quality at bats, still working counts. Matt Mervis is going to figure it out eventually. He will. And so, and we're all coming back down to earth a little bit. There's a lot of things to kind of take away. This team is going to be just fine. We are still just trying to figure out what exactly needs to change, who needs to stay, who needs to go, what's going to happen with Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
We already saw Hosmer go. So Cubs are in an interesting position, and I think what they decide to do going forward depends on how they play.
Yeah, you're right, man. And I think also, just some of the nice contributions the Cubs have gotten from guys like Mike Talkman. That's
Yes.
been
Oh
a
my gosh, I
plus.
forgot.
Yeah, that's been a plus, man. It's been great. So, and dude,
Yeah.
honestly, they could have easily swept the Rays. But the Rays, unfortunately, as good as they are, of course, Brandon Lau and those guys got to Mark Leiter Jr., who's had a great season, but unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for him. I know a lot of people are questioning, oh, like, should Ross have taken out Wisniewski because he was dealing as in his first appearance back? Because of course, we haven't mentioned it either yet, but Steele left the game after 3 innings with left arm stiffness. We hope that's
Yeah.
nothing serious. He doesn't think so. And in the post game, he said he didn't think it was anything that bad, but precautionary. And with a guy like Justin Steele, who's having an all-star caliber first half,
Yeah.
take him out if you need to, just in case. Because a
Yeah.
game in May, that's fine. So hopefully he's okay and everything works
Yeah.
out in that end. But yeah, I mean, when you look at a team that finished the month, or excuse me, had a great month of April, and then kind of got a little bit of a wake up call in May.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've had series and had glimpses of like they can come back to that form. They can be there. They finished 14 and 13 in April. And they sit here now, of course, like I said, 24 and 31. So they've had glimpses of it, with that series against the Rays, series against the Mets, because despite the Mets being a team that, like I said, team is a mess, they still have good players on the team with Lindor, Pete Alonso, who leads the majors in
Oh, yeah.
homers. So yeah, I mean, it's just overall, I think it's been the struggles on the road that have kind of leaked all over the place, that have
Absolutely.
been the main problem. And and we'll discuss the road trip coming up, but it's going to be a scary road trip coming up for sure, and another big test to see if they can find it. But one thing I wanted to ask you about was, Alzolay had a great performance the other day where he closed out the game, had I think like 4 or 5 strikeouts. He
Yeah.
just looked good out there, and a lot of people were talking about, hey, maybe they should give Alzolay the closing role for now, like as they try out different things. Do you think he's an option to be a closer, or is it the type of guy that you might have maybe in an Andrew Miller type role where he pitches 1 to 2 innings of high leverage, high leverage innings? Like, what do you see? Do you think Alzolay deserves a chance at the closing role?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely something worth noting. The
Mm-hmm.
Cubs really do not have an established closer at
Mm-hmm.
all. There isn't an established closer. Why not try him out? I really like him in the late games. I really liked him coming out of the pen. I think that is where he's been the most efficient. I know in the
Mm-hmm.
past we've tried him in the rotation and things didn't work out the way that we thought it would, but he's been great. He's been great out of the pen this year, and I don't see a reason why not to. But also, with him being a former rotation guy, he can also eat up a lot of innings as well. So you could definitely use him in that closer role, and kind of like what I said earlier, if this is a guy who can go for a while. He's someone you can have close on multiple days on end, and whatever the case may be. So I think for sure, try anything. Don't be afraid to tinker around with stuff. I think this is the season to still play around with stuff because the Cubs aren't that team yet, but they're heading in that direction. This is the season where you start to really play around with certain things and move guys around and see what works and what doesn't work. I am 100% in for having him try out that closer role for sure.
Yeah, no, and you are right in the sense that he has been better out of the bullpen,
Yeah,
and I've liked that stuff. And it kind of reminds me of something. I mean, look, overall, I think we haven't seen enough of Wisniewski to be like, hey, just put him in the bullpen and make him stay there, or that he might be better there. But he has looked better out of the bullpen.
yeah,
I still want to see what he could do starting wise, just because it would be such a boost to the rotation, because you
yeah,
don't know where guys are going to go, whether it be Smiley or even Hendricks for that matter. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens with that. But luckily, he looked good out of the pen. If he maybe Wisniewski maybe kind of takes maybe takes on the role of Keegan Thompson from last year, where he kind of like went in there, would pitch 4 or 5 innings, and close out a game, right? Like
yeah,
so that could be something that might be what they were thinking about with Wisniewski. But yeah, Alzola I think deserves any type of shot because, like you said, there is no closer. It's kind of closer by committee at this point. I think they tried obviously with Fulmer earlier in the season. It didn't work out. So
yeah,
luckily that the Cubs, of course, activated Hendricks last week, and he's looked decent. He hasn't looked great, but I think
yeah.
I mean, against the Rays, I think he looked like the Hendricks of old. The
Yes.
Cubs sent down Michael Rucker. But yeah, like I said before, man, they're gonna go on the road again, and they got to find some wins. And when you
Yeah.
look at this upcoming road trip, as we look ahead, they got 4 against the Padres, 3 at LA. And again, these are, I guess, they're at San Diego, 3 at Anaheim against the Angels, 3 at San Francisco. Luckily, I think they miss Otani. According to
Mhm.
ESPN, I think they think it's gonna say they're missed, but who knows how they set things up. But man, if you
Hope they
need
do
it,
miss him.
yeah, I know, right? For a team,
Yeah.
I will say this: they'll miss him on the mound, but not at the play, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
dude,
He's still gonna be
man,
in the lineup.
I
That's
know,
the
right? It's
give and
like,
take with that.
man, and it's like for a team that needs road wins, that's not the schedule you want to look at. I mean, what do you think
Yeah.
about like how daunting is that? Like, will they? You think they'll be able to bounce back, or how tough is this road stretch going to be for them?
It's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging, even against the San Diego Padres team that is not exactly lived up to what we
Hmm.
thought that they would be. But this is still a very
Yeah.
dangerous team and a very potent lineup still.
Hmm.
Um, Nando has been electric this year. He still has not been the hitter that we know that he can be, but he has still been very electric. He is embracing this villain role that he has
Hmm.
this year. You still have Manny Machado in that lineup. You still have Bogarts in that lineup, and then what a lot of people are not talking about right now is Juan Soto has heated up significantly at the plate, looking like his true self. So they have a lot to think about there when it comes to facing the Padres offensively, pitching wise. I mean, I think this is a team that they match up against pretty well. I do not know the numbers specifically as to who's pitching what game. I'm assuming Musgrove isn't pitching this game because he pitched on Thursday, but
Hmm.
um, I'm
I know.
not sure. Pitch today, sorry. And
Mhm.
so I guess we'll see how that rotation kind of plays out. I'm not sure what those matchups are. Are they facing Darvish?
Yes. Okay. So according to ESPN, again, like I said, this is just like pending. That's not for sure, but it looks like it'll be Tyon Waka game one,
Yeah.
Smiley Darvish in game two,
Okay.
Stroman Weathers, Hendrick Snell. So they're gonna face Darvish. and Snell there. Not that Snell hasn't been himself this year, but still, I mean, these are guys that can have a great day, you know, out of
Historically,
nowhere.
these are guys who have had a
Yeah.
lot of success on the mound.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I like these matchups a lot. I really do. Side note, why does the series end on a Monday?
Yeah, I know they've done that right with like some wraparound series. Like I've seen other teams
Yeah.
do it, but this is the first time that the Cubs are doing it this year. I don't know if it has to do with the fact that they're in LA, so sorry, excuse me, they're in California, so it doesn't really like maybe they're they don't mind the travel or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if it has to do with the travel. I don't know if it has to do with the new scheduling because I feel like I've never really seen that before. And this year I've seen it with a couple teams, so it's kind of weird, honestly. I'm not gonna lie,
It's weird. I've
but
seen that in MLB The Show when like you finish the actual season
yeah,
and then like it
yeah.
generates the next season and it kind of screws up all the games.
Oh yeah, because it doesn't know what to do with a schedule not given by humans. It's like it's just
Yeah,
like all over
exactly,
the place.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Very
hey,
interesting.
I'll tell you one thing. If you're trying to stay up late for Cubs games, this road trip is for you. As it's a nine, it's a no, it's a 10 game California West Coast trip where like all
Yeah.
the time, I think all but let's see, one, two, three out of the 10 games start uh start before 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, excuse me. So everything after that is like 8:10, 8:30, 9:10, 8:40. So these games are gonna end around like 10. So Miles, you might have to stay up. You might be a little tired by this time
Yeah,
next
no, I'll do
week.
my best.
For real, I know. And it's like I always feel like those games too. Like I feel like I've seen a ton of games at San Diego where they go into extras, and I'm like, damn, that might be, well, at least with the Ghost Runner now, I guess you could technically or the Ghost Runner, I mean the guy at second might be a little, they might end sooner. But yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully they're able to string together some wins because they need it in general, not only for the road, but moving over to the south side of Chicago, where the White Sox are 23-35. They went 3-4 on this recent road trip. And man, we thought we were so positive about the White Sox this on last week's episode. This week, unfortunately, it looks like we're back to square one because they went on the road and they beat Cleveland. We talked about that. They won 2 out of 3 against Cleveland, but then they go to Detroit and they lose 3 out of 4. And so it just it's a Detroit team that while they might be playing well, the White Sox should still, there's no excuse there. Like the White Sox should still beat that team. And man, seeing them in person, seeing the Tigers in person, man, I mean, it is just that lineup is unreal. You got McKinstry leading off, former Cub. He's doing well. Riley Green, he's doing solid. But everyone else in that lineup is kind of still searching for who they, like really are when it comes to like guys like Torkelson,
Yeah.
Nick Maton, like guys just struggling in there. A couple positives for the Tigers there. I mean, McKinstry did have a great series. Then you had former Cub Zach Short. He's out there. He had a bomb on Saturday. So he had a good series. He's looking good, and that's a guy that is playing third base. But man, Javi again continues to struggle. He didn't play for on the game on I believe it was a Saturday. He didn't play that game, and man, he's also struggled. So it's been honestly really surprising that the fact that they're 24-26, but I guess it just goes to show about how weak the AL Central is.
Hmm.
But yeah, man, it's just a rough go for the White Sox. I mean, they won, like I said, they won that series against Cleveland, a loss against Detroit, and they come back home, and of course they face Otani and the Angels, and we've talked about it before. The Angels they've been playing better baseball.
Yeah.
They're 30-27 over 500 here. They have a plus 12 run differential. And the White Sox were able to win one game, but the Angels came out there and won 2 games, including the last game. Man, that last game, Angels clobbered them. I mean, 5 home runs,
Could
one from Trout, 2 from Otani. I think that one Trout had one that was like 467. Otani had 3 bombs in the series, so it was just an onslaught. And even in that one, even in the game, I believe it was game 1 or game 2. I can't recall which one. Kopech, he K'd 10, but he still took the loss there with the 4 earned runs.
yeah.
So they really, Kopech has still he's been pitching well. Besides that, giving up 4 runs. I mean, you saw he was able to at least K10 there. Eloy Jimenez, he's back. He's been 4 for 10 since his return as of
Yeah,
Tuesday with the home run. They
yeah.
added Clint Frazier to the roster as well. But what have you thought about the White Sox in the last few days? Like I said, in Detroit, they lost 3 out of 4. That is just it's really rough for them there. It kind of sends them all the way back, especially because in division, as we talked about it last episode. But yeah, what are your thoughts about the White Sox over the last week?
Yeah, that Detroit series is really ugly. That's really ugly for the White Sox. I don't know what else to say about the White Sox at this point. I think we know who this team is. This is a division that's not very competitive for the most part. Now, I'm hoping that Rick Hahn sort of comes to his senses in terms of what he wants to do with this team. I know he still has a lot of faith in this ball club, and that's great. But also, you you see what's happening right now. You know what's going on in the field, and really, I love these guys offensively, and then even from a pitching standpoint, this is a team that just looks really good on paper. Doesn't matter anymore. It just has not clicked the way it should have been. Lance Lynn has been getting absolutely clobbered. It
Yeah,
has
dude.
been very rough to watch him pitch, and I'm a fan of Lance Lynn, and I love how he just goes about his business. And I loved watching Lance Lynn in 2021.
Hmm.
Just that swag that he had, and the chirp, and it was just great. But fast forward 2 years later, 4-6 with a 6.55 ERA, 12 games. So it's just I don't know. I don't know. From an offensive standpoint, I think the White Sox have not been terrible. I think certain guys have actually been coming through very well, and even in their last game against Los Angeles, they put up a little bit more of a fight there in the last inning. I think they are starting to put some things together, but it's just not working. It's not working. So I think Rick Hahn has to kind of come to his senses. I'm sure he has. I'm sure that there's a plan in place, as there's plenty of executives in there, but this kind of goes to show that certain moves in the offseason should have been made. And we also can confirm that this wasn't just a Tony La Russa issue. This is just a culture issue within the White Sox, and so I'm hoping that there's some sort of change that comes to this team, but a positive change.
Yeah, man, you're right. And I think you nailed it you nailed it with Lance Lynn. He's been getting smacked around.
Yeah,
And I mean that's you can say that about a lot of the pitchers on the Sox. And look,
yeah,
Joe Kelly, Kendall Graveman, they went into Detroit with a scoreless streak. I think it was like 9 or 10 innings for each. And in that game on Saturday, the Sox came back. They were down 2-zip. Lorenzen had a perfect game in like the 6th inning. And yeah, and the Sox were able to load the bases up. Gavin Sheets he almost hit one out of the park for a grand slam, but he hit it off the wall, knocked in, a couple runs to tie it. Then they ended up taking the lead. So yeah, they could have easily won that game, but then they came back in the 8th inning, and Zach McKinstry had a game tying home run and make it 3-3. And then the Lions, the Tigers, wrong team, same city, right? But
yeah,
but yeah, they ended up. It's funny because the Tigers ended up scoring 7 in that game, so they scored a touchdown on the Sox. But yeah, they could have easily won that game, but the pitching just ended up not working out in the end for the pen that's been so reliable. And again, it was one of those things where we were discussing it in the game because I didn't mention this too. We saw Gabe Wilkins, who's the host of Open Run here on War Media. He was there with his buddy, and we were discussing it. It's like, you know, Sox fans are probably like, why did they bring in Kelly? Like, they could have gone with Kyrie Middleton or whatever.
yeah,
But you're damned. It's like one of those things. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't. So with the
yeah,
way that Joe Kelly was pitching, we looked at the location. Gabe showed me the location of the sinker, and it was right down the middle that Kelly threw to Zach McKinstry that tied the game.
yeah,
Look, it's just I think Pedro Grifol made the right move. With the way that Joe Kelly was pitching up until that point, it had
yeah,
to happen sometime, right? You can't go. Not everyone's Oral Hershiser with like 60 straight innings of scoreless ball. Like, it's tough to do. So it had to happen
yeah,
eventually, and unfortunately came in a high leverage spot, and it just
yeah,
didn't work out for them there. But yeah, I mean, in more positive news, Tim Anderson's looked well. He's slashing 345, 387, and 414 with an OPS of 1146 in his last 7. On the other side, Luis Robert, he cooled off, man. Right, we were talking about how good he was. He is for sure one of the best players in May. And we'll get to who we think is the MVP for May in all of baseball. But another thing too, dude, Liam Hendricks, he's back,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
awesome to see his entrance. And of course, with the Southside jerseys, it was even better.
Oh
And
my
the
gosh.
fans were
Yeah.
just, yeah, the fans were loving it. But what'd you think about that, man? Him coming back and kind of joining the Sox, and also just kind of being maybe a spark here, right?
Yeah, and he's such a good personality to have, and such a cool,
Yeah.
fun teammate to be around, and pitches with a lot of energy, and he hasn't lost any life on his fastball. He's right back to it. He's feeling good, and I think for me, because my mother had breast cancer, and she overcame it. She had it twice, and she's a survivor. So for me, this topic is like it's super personal for me. So I love seeing overcome. I love seeing people overcome these journeys and come back even stronger, and just the whole story. It's like sure I kick cancer's ass and everything, and him ringing the bell now,
Hmm.
dude. It's just it makes me so happy, and it shows that it's just there's some things that are just bigger than baseball, but baseball brings us all together in a sense. No matter who you root for or whatever the case is, we're all baseball fans at the end of the day. To see him come back and be welcomed the way he did, and in a very in a high leverage spot as well. It's awesome. It was great. I'm such a fan of his, and I'm so happy that he's back, and hopefully he is something that can really spark this White Sox team.
Yeah, man. No, and you said it best, man. I mean, yeah, it's just like with these stories are awesome. I mean, it's like you see people get knocked down, but they get back up, and that's the best part.
Yeah,
No, I don't think anybody remembers the part of getting knocked down. It's all about how you get back up, and I think Liam Hendricks
yeah,
has done that to a T. And yeah, I mean, I think it'll be great to kind of have a more solidified bullpen now for the Sox and kind of have a little bit more structure and not have to worry about who's going to close it out in the ninth there. And of course, just like the Cubs, it's still all in their hands. They still have
yeah,
a
yeah,
chance. I mean, we're sitting here in May with the team in first place in the AL Central, 29 and 27. Sox are 7 games back. While we look at the NL Central, the Brewers have the same record as the Twins, and the Cubs are just 4.5 games back, tied for last place. So that just says it all. So definitely, these two teams, while they're scuffling right now and they're struggling, you never know what's on the other side. Just got to keep fighting, and
yeah,
definitely we'll find out more about them in this next month of June. With looking ahead now to the White Sox, they got 3 more against Detroit this weekend, so they have a chance of redemption there. Then they
yeah.
play 3 at the Yankees, who have been playing great ball. What do you think we're going to see when it comes to the Tigers again? And how do the White Sox attack the Yankees?
It's starting with the two Yankees.
Yeah.
Start, so I think looking at that Tigers series, I feel like the Tigers have kind of been handling their business against the White
Hmm.
Sox. Um, and whenever Javi is at the rate, he tends to absolutely rake.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping for at least a competitive series from the White Sox point. They're going to be at home, so that's a plus. That's a plus. It's going to be beautiful weather. That's a plus. The rate is also a hitter's ballpark. That's something that they can look forward to. And I also look at someone like Yasmani Grandal, who has not been hitting terrible for
Hmm.
what we've seen him do on the White Sox the past few seasons. Um, so I don't know. I think it's going to be a competitive series. I am hoping the White Sox are able to not let the Tigers come in here and kick them around, especially because this is a team in your division, and I don't care where you are. Don't let anyone come to your place and kick you around, especially from a team from your division. Um, so we'll see what happens with that. So I'm definitely rooting for them. The Yankee series is going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. But here's the interesting thing is that whenever the Sox and the Yankees play each other, these tend to be really good games, no matter where these teams are.
Hmm.
Um, and if I'm not mistaken, Donaldson is coming back soon, and
Hmm.
Kano and
Yep.
Stander are coming back soon.
Hmm.
Yeah, you got Anderson who's healthy again. What kind of back and forth is going to happen? How is this going to motivate the White Sox going against this team? And what's crazy is that this is virtually the same roster over the past few years. When you look at both of these teams, and one team has gone this way, the other team has gone that way. Both teams have kept the majority of their same guys. So um, that's gonna be a fun one to watch because those are two very sparky teams, two very chirpy teams that don't take a lot of crap. The Yankees White Sox series, I think, is going to be very fun. It's either going to be very competitive, or the Yankees are going to they're going to mop the floor with the White Sox, or the Sox are going to really take care of their business against the Yankees. It's going to be one of those scenarios. So, yeah, that's gonna be fun. I'm really looking forward to that series the most.
Yeah, me too. You're right, man. I think every time the White Sox and Yankees play, it's always intense. I think,
Yeah,
especially like, I mean, I remember last year, Kopech, was just dealing into the seventh inning. And Tim Anderson
yeah,
had like a go ahead homer in the eighth, and he was like quieting the crowd. It was awesome. Not to mention
yeah,
that, that classic Field of Dreams game they had as well. And I think it was 21. So yeah, I think it dates. I think ever since then, they've kind of had this little thing with each other where
uh
every
huh,
game is every game is cinema, bro. It's crazy. So
yeah.
hopefully there's another one like that in store for sure. But yeah, White Sox and Cubs need some wins, man. Hopefully they can bring some more in June. Kind of moving on now to the rest of the league. One thing I wanted to hit on was the fact that so the Padres are not going to be on Bally Sports anymore. They're going to be their games are going to be produced by MLB now, and it's a little odd. I've never seen that before. So they're going to be able to get a
Yeah.
single subscription on MLB TV and just watch the Padres. I want to get your thoughts overall, like just like the whole thing about how MLB deals with these things. And do you think streaming, like, you think this is going to be more like, because MLB wants to do this for every team, right? Obviously, it's a little tough when it comes to like marquee Yes Network, like they can't do that. But in
Yeah.
your preference, like, do you think, would you choose, cable television, or do you think that streaming is the way to go?
I think it depends on how they handle that.
Hmm.
In terms of blackouts, I think that is where fans are the most frustrated. And if
Yeah.
down the line, this is where the MLB is heading when it comes to these kind
Hmm.
of things. Um, Anything blackout wise has to get put to rest. That
Hmm.
has to stop. It just has to. Um, because I think there are teams, and even when I saw the Braves play, apparently they are on a new network as well. I'm not too familiar. And so there are Braves fans who are also frustrated that they cannot watch their team at all. They can't watch it because their team is on a specific channel. And so the point being is, if the MLB is heading in this direction, you got to do it right. You got to make it accessible for everyone, no matter where anybody is living. Um, that is what I hope for that. It can be if they in the MLB can really get this right. They can really get this right if they decide to go this route with the majority of the teams, or they can screw it really, really hard and make it very unfavorable for the fans, for the players, and people having feelings towards the commissioner. We don't want that.
Hmm.
So, um, like I said, just to reiterate, if they are going in that direction, I hope they are doing it the right way.
Yeah, you're right, dude. They have a chance to do everything right here because look, if you're telling me that, I can watch my team on my phone, on my, wherever I have the app, the MLB app,
Yeah,
um, and that easily on, I think anybody would take that for sure because even now, I mean, even like as much as, everyone enjoys Marquee Sports Network, I mean, some people don't have it, some people don't have access to it,
yeah,
so whatever cable company might not have it. So yeah, it's a little rough there. So I hope they're able to settle things in that way, maybe like have a partnership in the future where they stream the marquee games straight to the MLB app. I don't know, because
yeah.
the MLB, excuse me, the marquee app has not been welcomed with open arms, and they haven't yet to put the
It
games on
sucks.
there. Yeah, exactly. So, and they have yet to put the games on there, and like the Ricketts, every time they ask them about it, they're kind of like, oh, we're having some trouble with it, or we'll get there, blah blah blah. But it's like been like a couple of years of that. So if they can't work that out now, when are you gonna do it? So
Yeah,
it's just the way things are, with people having Chromecast, whether it be Apple TVs or something like that, having smart TVs, just easier for the
yeah,
streaming and easier for stuff like that. So hopefully they're
yeah,
able to deal with it well, and it goes well for the Padres, so then it goes well for everyone else.
yeah.
But the last thing I want to talk to you about is, of course, we're a month a couple months into the season now, and I kind of want to do this. We'll try to do this every month now to kind of get like our MVP for the month here.
Heck yeah.
And yeah, and so looking back at this month, there's been a lot of things that have happened. I mean, the Rays have continued to be the Rays, 40-18, still continue to be the
Yeah.
best team in baseball. The
Yeah.
Braves again consistently and quietly continue to be the best team in the National League there. When you have, the Dodgers also came back, man. I mean, they were 16-13, which for their standards is not great. And
Yeah.
they came into this month and now they're, grabbing hold of the West. Now they're half game up, but they're in first place right now. So
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of things happen this month. The Midwest kind of stayed the same for the most part, with
Hmm.
the Brewers kind of looking a little better and the Twins maintaining that central hole. But when it comes to individual Mays, who would you say is your MVP? Because we got plenty of choices. I mean, you got over here in Chicago, Christopher Morel went off, Luis Robert Jr. went off. So literally, like it's two guys right there. But who would you pick for you as the MVP for the month of May?
Luis Arias.
Oh yeah.
He he is he is he is hitting right now like there is a league above the MLB. Like there is like the MLB is like the minor leagues to him. It's in hitting for the cycle and just it him he is such a threat at the plate. He finds a way to get a hit in so many of his at bats. It's incredible. And all his average did in May was just go up even more. And he's hitting 382. Stop, bro. Okay, we get it. You have hitters like him are the reasons why the Marlins are what 29-28 right now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. That's incredible. The production that he brings to the team is out of this world, and he's been doing it since last year as well. And he's been a good hitter in his young career to this point. He's 26 years old, bro, and it's just in my opinion, he is one of the biggest quality hitters in baseball that isn't talked about. Because you do have like the Judges and the Otanis and the Freddie Free and so many other
Mm-hmm.
players that I did not list just now. But you get the
Mm-hmm.
point. You got to put Luis Arias up there. Currently in this moment now, is like a top 1, 2, 3 hitter in the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of this world. What he's doing for Miami is incredible. So I got to go with Luis Arias because he has just been electric. 73 hits. He has one home run and 21 RBIs, but he's going to get on base and he's going to set up Soler. He's going to set up Chisholm, and it's just Garrett Coop. You want hitters like him in your life. You want hitters like him. So Luis Arias is my pick.
No, dude, I mean, yeah, you nailed it. I mean, that's it. He is truly like just in the sense of just plain hitting, right?
Yeah.
Just whether it be, not even counting home runs or extra bases or whatever. Just he is the
Right.
best. He might be the best pure hitter in the game right now.
Yeah.
Because every day you just look at his card, his box score, excuse me. And dude, it's just like two hits, 3 hits, whatever.
Yeah.
It's nonstop. So he's that good.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I've said this before, when he was on the Twins, I think that they kind of expected him to kind of slug more, and they kind of expected him to be maybe a key cog in the middle of their lineup. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that the Marlins are utilizing him better to be a table setter, to be a leadoff hitter. And yes, he can run into some home runs. That is for sure, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
But this year hasn't looked like it, man. He's got one home run right now, so he's kind of. He's the type of guy that is definitely going to hit singles all the time, get on base for you, knock in some runs. The guys getting getting onto the bottom of the order, which of
Yeah.
course that's what's carrying the Marlins right now, man, is the offense because their pitching hasn't been great. Alcantara hasn't
Mm-hmm.
been able to follow up his Cy Young season. He's got an ERA above 40, or excuse me, above 40, above 4. And man, I'm off today. Above
No,
4. But Lusardo as well, dude. I mean, he hasn't been as good either as they
yeah.
expect him to. He's also got a ERA of 4. So yeah, I mean that lineup has been killing it from even guys like Brian De La Cruz that have been doing well, man, and Sanchez in there, Gurriel, so yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome to see,
Two young
especially
guys on this team that have been brought up through
yeah.
this team, and you're seeing them become something now. It's really cool to watch.
Exactly, 100%. And of course, you always love to see some wins coming out of that stadium. Who you said you've seen it. It needs some work, but hey, the more they win, the more they'll bring fans in, and the more those uniforms look even better, right?
Man, you guys playing Little Havana. You guys better start balling out. One of the
Yeah.
coolest neighborhoods I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's so
No,
it's
yeah,
so alive over there. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
they have
yeah.
a great stadium, and oh my god,
Mhm.
the neighborhood is phenomenal. They better start with it.
100%, man. Miami's awesome, and just like
Yeah,
the people, the weather, it's just like, dude, it doesn't get any better
yeah,
than that.
yeah,
But mine, look, I looked at other ones, and there's plenty of other options. I mean, there was a guy on the Marlins that we both could have chose as well, besides Arise in Jorge Soler, who hit 12 bombs. But that's my
yeah.
honorary mention. But my guy for this month is a little cliche, but I'll take it. It's your boy Aaron Judge. I mean, dude is, oh my goodness, he's killing
Yeah,
it, and he's the reason why the Yankees are honestly back, right? I mean, they ended the month in last place, which despite it being them being over 500 at the end of the month, there were a couple games over 500. But that obviously that division is the toughest in baseball. But man,
yeah,
I mean, he's been insane. And so he was a big reason why they were able to turn it around. He had 11 homers, had an OPS of 1377. I mean, that's just it's just insane there. So yeah, I love that, and love to see just how he, I know, right? It's ridiculous.
yeah,
It looks like 13. It looks like he has a 1377. It's like you're getting a beer at Wrigley. You know what I'm saying? So it's
yeah,
insane, and a beer and a hot dog. So yeah, it's
yeah,
crazy to me that he's able to do it day in and day out. I mean,
yeah,
my buddy who's a Yankees fan, he tells me about, he showed me all these stats and everything that he's doing, this and that, like he's the first to do certain things. And he did something, I think recently, I can't remember what the stat was, but it was something that Barry Bonds had done. I think it was like 12 home runs in like a certain stretch of games or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's insane. And he said it's like he's being able to watch, it's like almost like being able to watch Barry Bonds every night. And it's true because of the amount of
yeah,
pop he has and the amount of the way that he drives the ball. And just not even that, but also just the way he plays defense, right? Nobody ever talks
yeah.
about Aaron Judge's defense enough. I was watching the game the other day and he robbed a homer. So,
Right.
yeah, it's just that he is the complete package. And of course, like always, the conversation comes up of, who would you pick? Who would you rather have, him or Otani? And it's tough because obviously you got one end saying, you rather have the pitcher and the hitter together, but then you have
Yeah,
another guy who's just so over the top ridiculous at hitting that might outweigh the both of them. So yeah,
yeah,
that's mine for sure. And I think nonetheless, these are two of the best hitters in baseball. That I'm pretty sure if these two teams keep playing the same way right now, these are, I mean, Judge is going to be an MVP candidate, but you never know. Luis Arias could be one too, man. At the top of the
yeah,
order, if he's hitting close to 400 come August or whatever, then damn well he's gonna be in talks for MVP for sure.
yeah.
But anyways, that's a good place to wrap things up for this edition of the At Bat podcast presented by War Media. Of course, make sure to watch all of our shows on our YouTube channel as well as on all platforms that you listen to your podcasts, whether it be the At Bat podcast, whether it be the Open Run podcast, Fandemonium, etc. You also check out our Substack as well, where you can read pieces by Stephanie Strampluski on the WNBA, as well as James Jefferson talking NFL as well. Those are two new members of War, so welcome to the team. And of course, we're always adding, always growing. So hopefully you guys enjoy all the content as well. We just released another Bears recap, talking all the things, Bears draft. Glenn Morgan, he's super high on the Bears wide receiver that they picked up in the draft, Tyler Scott. He's really fast. And, he mentioned that somebody tweeted out, I can't remember the name, but somebody tweeted out that the Bears might have the Legion of Zoom because they're that quick. So,
Like that.
you
Like
never
that.
know. Yeah, yeah. So we'll see what
Take care of
happens.
these young boys, man. Seriously.
Exactly. Yeah. So love to see it. All positive. So hopefully everyone enjoys it, and we'll see everybody next week. This was another edition of the At Bat Baseball Podcast.